So this is chapter 2 of As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. So the name of chapter 2 is Effect of Thought on Circumstances. Man's mind may be likened to a garden which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild, but whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless wheat seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with ever increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstances, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This doesn't mean that a man's circumstances at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that for the time being they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there. And in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is, that he may learn, that he may grow, and as he learns the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions. But when he realizes that he is a creative power and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then becomes rightful master of himself. That circumstances grow out of thought, every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self control and self purification. For he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. So true is this that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and makes swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspiration, it falls to the level of its unchastened desires. The circumstances are means by which soul receives its own. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. Good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts bear bad fruit. The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both by suffering and bliss. Following the innermost desires, aspirations, thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, pursuing the will or sweeps of impure imaginings or steadfast walking the highway of strong and high endeavor, a man at least arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer conditions of his life. The laws of growth and adjustment everywhere obtains. A man doesn't come to the to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Not does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into the crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart. The hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance doesn't make the man, it reveals him to himself. No such condition can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into the virtue or its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspiration. And man, therefore, as the Lord and Master of thought, is the maker of himself and the sharper and author of his environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflection of its own purity and impurity, and its strength and weaknesses. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Okay, their whims, fancies, and ambitions are the word at every step, but their innermost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends is in ourselves. It is our very self. Only himself manacles man. Thought and action are the gaolers of fate. They imprison being base. They are also the angels of freedom. They liberate being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are the only gratified and answered when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. In the light of this truth, what then in the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of a conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of its processor, and thus calls aloud for remedy. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who doesn't shrink from self crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly things. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he would realize a strong and well poised life. Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comfort should be improved. Yet, all the time, he shrinks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Such a man doesn't understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity, and is not only totally unfit to rise out of this wretchedness, but is actually attracting to himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he hasn't yet learned the first principle of a healthy life. Here is an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage, and in the hope of making larger profits reduces the wages of work people. Such a man is altogether unfitted for the prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that the man is the causer. Though nearly always is unconsciously of his circumstances, and that whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the reader can, if he so resolves, trace the action of the laws of thought in his own mind and life, and until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the condition of happiness varies so vastly with individuals that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspects of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain direction, yet yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain direction, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that one man fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prosper because of his particular dishonesty is the result of a superficial judgment, while which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent in the other. The honest man reaps the good result of his honest thoughts and action. He also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own sufferings and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtue, but not until a man has